Hello, welcome to Star Wars Spelt Out. I'm your host, Josh Chapman speaking, and today we're in probably the most picturesque surrounds that we've ever recorded in. We're not in the study, we're not on Skype, we're not in the city. We're in beautiful South Gippsland on the rolling hills. We're looking out, we can see farmland everywhere. We can see a playground, there are children playing. I can see a bunch of my relatives far, and I can see two of my relatives right in front of me. Eli and Jessica Chapman. How you going, guys?
Hey.
They're doing all right, man. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Now, I've been badgering you guys to come on for a while. You've both got a pretty good relationship with Star Wars. I saw you walked in the door and you're like, dude, I want to talk some Star Wars. And I said, save it. Save it for the podcast. All conversations are on the podcast now.
It's all we have to share with each other. It's always news with Star Wars. Now I got to savor all the goodness.
Well, you're savouring it right now. You got it now, so you don't have to worry about it. Now, this might be a little bit tricky because, Eli, you've seen Solo.
I have.
And Jessica, you have not seen Solo.
I have not yet, no.
So do you want to be spoiled, Jess, or are you happy to just...
She asked for a synopsis this morning, so I've given her a brief rundown, but...
Okay, well, actually, that might be a good place to start. Give us your 1 minute... what happens in Solo breakdown synopsis that you gave Jess this morning?
It was longer than a minute, but I'll do my best. It's basic origin story. Han Solo's street rat, climbs his way out of a gutter. Pretty much just how he makes his name. It ties everything together. So it just shows him meeting and interacting with all the characters that he knows and interacts with.
The other 12 people he has in his life are basically...
Yeah, pretty much. It just answers every question that you could have had. And it just... Basic origin story, he gets into smuggling, gets stuck in smuggling, and it revolves around big smuggles run through Kessel.
So, Jess, after hearing that, what do you think you'll see, particularly when you see the film?
Oh, well, look, I hope that there'll be... Well, so the Kessel runs, hopefully, a lot of action in terms of that as well.
What do you think the Kessel run is?
12 parsecs of goodness.
Yeah.
But what do you think it actually entails, though?
It actually, what I think that it is, I guess that it is, because I don't actually really know, it would be then going through a certain part of space, or then going to get to another area of space in particular.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
With crazy hijinks along the way.
With crazy hijinks
so it's not going to be a smooth ride.
I'm interested to see what the Millennium Falcon looks like, if it does look any different, if it's, you would assume that it does look different, because it's newer. Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Lando owns it. So he's kind of Landoing it up.
Yeah, so it probably would have, I don't know, picture Han as just I'll just fix that when I can fix that and get around to it. It doesn't have to be fixed and
Well, yeah, old Millennium Falcon's barely hanging on. What, it's just everyone calls it a piece of junk.
Han knows. He wants you to think it's a piece of junk, though, doesn't he?
True, that's very true, yeah.
So, you guys are a bit younger than me. We don't have to go into the exact details, but would you consider yourselves prequel kids?
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
No. Well, we weren't really we weren't around for the release of the original trilogy, so having the prequels come out was sort of our releases. That's what we sort of had to look forward to in terms of the future of Star Wars. But it's just kind of weird for us because I definitely don't remember first time seeing any of the original trilogy. It's sort of been a constant.
What's yours, Jess?
I do. I remember seeing the original trilogy, and that was because we lived with another one of our cousins, Glyn. And so I was very, very influenced with Star Wars from an early age. And I do remember when we were living with Glyn, and I was playing with my Barbie dolls, and Glyn swaps out the Barbie doll for a Boba Fett figurine. And that was purely just, he was get used to this one. All these new movies are going to come out soon, and you're going to have to get used to it. It's going to be awesome. And, and I do remember the first time that I watched Phantom Menace and had really no idea what was going on at all whatsoever.
Did you see it at the cinema?
I think that I did, yeah. I'm pretty sure that I did.
Did you guys go together? Do you remember?
No, I don't think that we did.
I'm pretty sure we did. We went with Dad. We got Dad to take us.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was a big deal. I wore my Star Wars underwear and everything. I was so excited. I was so excited.
Yeah, but I do remember just what is going on, and the pod racing started, and it was like, yes, that's it. You know, I'm hooked. And Darth Maul as well, so obsessed, so overly obsessed. But the original trilogy, I do remember watching that and knowing that was that was the version of Star Wars I liked better.
So you kind of, as soon as you saw that, you're like, that's the one that I still, even though I'm probably right age prequel time.
I remember Palpatine going on about politics in the first one, and Phantom Menace. I'm literally just like, I don't know what's going on. This can't even be what Star Wars is, right?
Talking about GST and
why would anyone be watching this and love it so much if this is all that it was, you know? But so I already had a bit of an idea about how much better the original series was, just purely from what it is I was brought up on, I guess.
You went along to, episode 2 happily, and then episode 3 happily.
And episode 3, many a time in the cinemas. I saw that quite a lot. I'm nothing in comparison to how many times Eli saw it at the cinemas. I think he had them framed as well, or he kept all of his stubs.
How many times?
I kept all my tickets. I think I saw it 6 times over the course of its...
Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah,
No,
it was
more
good.
than that, I'm pretty sure, wasn't it?
Potentially.
Potentially, I think it was actually quite a bit. He used to go to the cinemas every single Sunday just to go to the cinemas. And while this was out, it was out for 3.5 months or something?
It had a good run.
It's probably the sort of the end of that long delay between stuff. You know what I mean? Now, because I saw a tweet saying Solo will be in cinemas for 2 more weeks, and then it'll be on Blu-ray in 3 months, and then it'll be on Netflix a month after that.
Well, it came up. I was talking to some other friends about it when we were going to see Solo. Is because with the spate of Marvel movies, especially movie come out 2 movies a year at best, and with the old Star Wars there was 3 years in between episode 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
So,
well, even 2 seemed it's a bit close. Last year, during Force Awakens, for 2 years. All right, well, we'll get Rogue One in the middle, but then, Solo is having a few issues at the box office. It's not doing as well as people thought, and I think most people are just going, man, we just saw Star Wars.
They're not building up any hype. They're not really selling it well. It's just
I'm not hyped. That's why I haven't seen it yet.
That's what I mean. You were just talking about how much I love this. I go,
Yeah.
I'm down, and you're like, man, I've got to reset. I've got to recharge my chi.
100%, yeah. I mean, and look, and this is so different as well from how much I was so excited about Deadpool 2, for example. That was how it should be that I get excited about Star Wars, right? But it just wasn't like that. Deadpool 2, I'm yes, going to cinemas now, I'm going to go see it now. But Solo, and I'm no, I don't know.
If it had been episode 9, do you think it would have been different?
I think so. I'm definitely a lot more excited about that. Probably because there's more, hanging
For some
on it.
weird reason, episode 9 came out 6 months after episode 8. Do you think you'd be just as charged? You'd be like, I need to savor it. I need to stew.
You need to let it. You do need to let it sit. Because otherwise, it's not as satisfying. I think people hate waiting, but
so how come because you guys are big Marvel fans as well, and you go to the movies. So how do you romp into a Marvel movie, two a year, 3 a year?
Well, it's Deadpool 2 is the first one that I've seen in a while. I haven't seen Black Panther. I haven't seen Avengers.
Oh, God damn it.
Yeah. So it's I've lost that one. I've lost that hype as well. Yeah, exactly. And I've lost that hype off too. But I don't know. I was thinking about the hype around, I guess, all the movies at the moment, all the big movies at the moment. And a lot of it is just social media telling you what you should go and watch and what you shouldn't go and watch.
So,
right?
New Jurassic Park, where's that land?
I'm actually a bit skeptical. I was super pumped. I was really excited. Because, I saw the most recent one with Chris Pratt, and I was like, yeah, it's kind of nonsense. It's kind of fun. It's all right.
It has some things wrong with it, but it's what makes it kind of fun.
It was a cool movie. But this new one, initial reviews and stuff have it pegged as not poor.
I have a feeling it's not going to do badly, but I don't think it's going to do as well. And I think they're going to go, Solo hasn't quite shot to the moon. Jurassic World, a little underwhelming. Maybe we need to cool our jets a little bit here. Maybe we just can't accept that we're just going to, there's a lot of, the funny thing about Star Wars, especially with Solo, is that, a lot of people who get critical of someone like Kathy Kennedy who runs Star Wars, they look for anything to knock her down with because she's basically a very successful woman with an extremely successful track record. And as soon as one doesn't quite do well, this is my chance to prove that she sucks.
Yeah.
And they had no reason really to think that it wouldn't be a success because they've absolutely hit, they're 3 for 3. Last Jedi, Force Awakens, Rogue One, cash, big,
Yeah.
Is it arrogance? Is it just we want to try some stuff? Is it like, hey, we want to...
I think it is. Because I think the issue is we all want more Star Wars, but I think they're giving us a different kind of Star Wars than we want. I think Solo is a really good representation of that because it kind of fills in too many blanks, and I think people know that. Like we like a bit of mystery and we like a bit of detachment, but we don't want to have everything laid out in front of us.
I don't want to have all of I really am excited to learn about the backstory of Han, but at the same time, I like that I didn't know what the backstory of Han was.
So you never sort of felt like you needed to search out a book to find out?
Well, yeah, so I don't know. Again, if it was the books, it would be a bit different as well for me, I guess, rather than just them making another movie out of it. I think there's going to be a lot more movies that are going to come out that are going to be the backstories of other Star Wars characters.
Books are a bit easier to kind of
At some point, they're going to do Kit Fisto's background, right? And then, we're going to be like, well, where did this come from? Why did this need to happen?
I think Rogue One's a really good comparison because it ties in just as much as Solo does. It literally leads in and shows how characters got to where they were and stuff like that. But every character that we had every main character we had in Rogue One was restricted to that movie, and that was just their movie to play around with. In Solo, it's just the entire thing is. We already sort of know what happens. We know that all the characters come out the other side. We know.
Well, that's the prequel thing, isn't it? It's that who survives before you go in, kind of thing. And you know who's going to be left at the end.
That's the whole no mystery. Yeah. That's the whole thing that it kind of I've always seen Star Wars as a trilogy as well having being at the cinema to see episodes 1, 2 and 3 and then watching 4, 5 and 6 from a young age all at once.
Yeah.
It's always been that, and that's why I was still excited about Last Jedi and Force Awakens and more excited about episode 9 as well.
Do you think that episode 9 will be the end of the Skywalker story?
Good question.
So,
I think probably. I feel like they are wrapping it up a bit because,
and a dovetail that, can you have episode 10 without Skywalkers?
I feel like they're going to try. I really do.
Yeah, they 100% will try. I'm kind of leaning towards it might be the end of the Skywalkers at episode 9. And they probably will try to do another trilogy maybe at some point. Again, just to tie off something else that had happened.
Well, I've heard Rian Johnson has been signed on to direct the first of a different spin-off trilogy.
Yeah. But no one knows when that's going to take place. But, we've sort of talked about it on here and kind of going, all right, the end, basically Last Jedi is today. So you don't go any, that timeline is happening. That's the last point of the timeline. So episode 10 has to move that timeline forward. It'll always go back. It seems like the episode movies are the thing that moves the timeline forward. Whether maybe that's not the case. Maybe after episode 9, episode 10, Rian Johnson's is yes, but it's 1,000 years in the future or something like that, and we've left the Skywalkers behind. But I always kind of assume that he'll go back. He'll go way back. We're talking year dot.
It does, yeah. It has always seemed to me that if they're going to do any kind of spin-offs or prequels or anything like that. Well, if they're going to do anything like that, it's always going to go, back to the beginning or, go...
But I guess if you go so far back that you don't have any established characters, you do take out that, everybody's life's on the table. We don't know what happens to these people. It's so far ago. Their people aren't even mentioned. You go 1,000 years back, it doesn't matter.
It's going to be, something completely new. Yeah.
And they've already got enough sort of story to work with all the, Old Republic storylines and stuff like that, so... It kind of be a smart move for them because they have a sort of framework to work within, but still enough freedom to just.
I guess do whatever they want. The temptation to lean on those legacy characters, there's so much stock in them, I guess, and I guess Solo's an example of going maybe we leaned a little bit too hard. We leaned too hard on a legacy character and just assumed that everybody would turn up because it's Han Solo, even though it's not the same guy playing Han Solo. Yeah. He's pretty convincing as Han Solo, but he doesn't look like him that much. Well, he looks like a handsome brunette dude, but he doesn't look like Harrison Ford. But But whether they can really distance themselves from those characters, I suppose, and sort of cut the cord.
Yeah, it is really interesting actually now because I never really thought about it until you just asked, and but it's actually it is a really good point. It is I can't imagine that they would. There's no reason for them to to go into the future though, to have a look at what potentially could have happened. It's always going to be easier for them.
Well, it turned out that the sequel trilogy we're in now was really the last chance to get those characters in. Obviously Carrie Fisher's not around anymore.
Yeah,
she got in just in time. Harrison Ford is finished, but he's probably nearly 80 years old. Hamill's a little bit younger, so you could go, all right, well, Hamill will turn up. If you ask him, I think he loves being in it. So if you did do like episode 12 and you want the ghost of Luke Skywalker, he'd probably pick up the phone.
It was really interesting to hear that he didn't actually or read that he didn't Hamill didn't like Luke in The Last Jedi.
Yeah, well,
I don't know. I liked Luke in The Last Jedi. I thought that it seemed like a bit of a natural progression if you're alone on an island for so long and what's happened has happened to him and that kind of stuff. It was always going to go to a bit of a dark place.
Well, he's more interesting that way, that you're dealing with a lot of the themes of The Last Jedi is dealing with failure and it's a more interesting journey for a character. If Luke comes in and just solves every problem with the Force, and you haven't really got a very interesting movie. No, but exactly. The documentary that's on the Blu-ray is really interesting. It's The Director and the Jedi, and it's a lot like Mark Hamill's in a lot, and he's like, I read the script, and I said I fundamentally disagree with everything that you've done with this character, but I will support you all the way and I'll do my best, and that's fine. And he's like, and he goes, well, Luke doesn't belong to me. Luke belongs to the story. And if that's the best thing for the scene, it's like, Hamill, you just say the best stuff.
I feel like that's an attitude that's just mostly non-existent. Because you think about all the negative sort of criticism that came out from Last Jedi was what they changed about what people would call fundamental Star Wars.
Yep.
They tried to introduce a new way of telling that story in different kind of characters and looking at them in different light. Yeah. It was a lot. The thing that I really enjoyed about it was how vague it sort of viewed good and bad. And even Luke himself, he almost personified that by saying it's all kind of balanced. It's all kind of shit, and it's just sort of it is what it is.
And we're only a little bit of it. The whole thing is bigger than us, and we're just a couple of people having a little skirmish in the. It reminded me of. I don't know if you guys ever watched Lost. Did you guys watch Lost?
Yeah, I did. I put in 6 seasons of effort into that show.
There's an episode in that towards the end, and they and they're on the island. They're doing their stuff, and they're all running from some bad guys, and there's some sort of conflict, and then they run into the lady and her husband, the older lady and her husband. Not Desmond, I can't remember that, but there's the lady and the husband. It's the older black lady and her husband. And they go like, oh my God, what are you doing here? And da-da-da. And they go, what are you doing? He said, we're doing this and this. And they go, you're always just got some problem going on and some conflict and da-da-da. We just stay over here and we just don't get involved and our lives are a lot easier. And, it sort of seemed like The Last Jedi was a bit like, you've got your little conflicts. The world goes on. Luke's kind of basically say that the Jedi and the Sith and stuff, it's sort of insignificant. That's why it doesn't matter if they're here or not.
Yeah.
The world will go on without them. It doesn't belong. We don't just because we can use the Force doesn't mean it's ours to bend to our will and things like that. So it was quite interesting themes of that. The whole concept of letting the past die.
Yeah. I do get that, and I really like that analogy actually of using the guys from Lost because that was a bit of 6 seasons into this show, and you're like, wait, where do these guys turn up? And where do they come from? It's
we've just been here, but we're just not getting involved. It's that's what Luke's basically doing. It's just if I just sit this out, it'll just it'll work itself out. And I know it seems like it's the coward's way out. But he's probably been through some stuff where he's every time I get involved, bad things happen.
Yeah, and
people get hurt.
And that's why I thought it was a very natural progression for the guy to be on an island on his own, not with his lightsaber at all. And the first time that he sees his lightsaber and how long, he's like, I don't want this. Why is this here?
Yeah, I don't. So, this is the symbol of everything that I'm trying to get away from.
Yeah, it's the reason why I've shut myself off from society, and
I don't know you. You're just some rando who turned up.
And yeah, exactly. It was. I really, really enjoyed The Last Jedi. There was a lot about that movie that I really did like, and just felt amazing after seeing. And my favourite scene, to be honest, was Laura Dern, of course, like a lot of people's, was.
A bit of Laura Dern. The Holdo manoeuvre.
Yes, it was brilliant. That was a great scene. And we were watching it. It was a midnight screening. It was probably 2:30 in the morning at that point or something like that. And I was still on the edge of my seat the whole time.
Did you find it, because you guys are big movie people, Eli, you especially, you making a face, did you find it jarring seeing someone like Laura Dern and Benicio del Toro in Star Wars? Does that take you out a little bit just because you know those actors?
Not really.
You just kind of went with the ride? You didn't
Well, they're both good enough actors that, they're not just playing the same characters over and over again. It's sort of, they're doing their job well, and it's not sort of oh, hey, that's that guy I know from there. It's just like, oh shit, this is a character that's being played well by an actor. Like it's
Yeah.
I was going to say, Benicio del Toro kind of seems like he just plays Benicio del Toro a lot, rather than, I don't know.
I thought he did well. I mean, he had like
Weirded it up a little
he
bit.
weirded it up, and it worked.
Yeah,
I thought it was all right. I do love that. I love the idea of getting like bigger names. It's much like you need a bit of both. I love the unknowns. The unknown
Your Daisy
actors.
Ridleys and your...
I love the unknowns as much as I love the knowns because you need that kind of balance. Because if it's all just, it just makes it.
I mean, they struck
fun.
gold with Daisy Ridley, John Boyega. I mean, John Boyega had done one or two things. I'd seen Attack the Block. You've probably seen Attack the Block.
I haven't actually.
Really?
I get that a lot.
Really?
That
I
sort
don't
of
know if that'd be
reaction.
right in your wheelhouse. But they struck gold with those guys, getting these people who could sort of carry the films and surround. Because like Force Awakens sort of had those unknowns, but then surround them with your Carries and your Marks and your Harrisons and stuff. And then Last Jedi was like, well, you bring in Benicio and the Laura Dern. They sort of name actors.
Well, I think one of my favorite actors in the new trilogy is Domhnall Gleeson.
Oh yeah,
plays Hux, and he's an outstanding actor. He's been in the game
hang
for
on,
a long time.
which Jess maybe can answer this. Which Weasley is he?
I don't
Come
know.
on.
Isn't he one of the Weasley boy kids?
He is. I think he's like one of the older ones or something. I'm not Harry
I
Potter.
thought you were down with the pot. Down with the potters.
Yeah, I guess I was up to a point, right?
Oh, right.
I don't
Sorry,
know.
I thought you
Yeah,
thought my bad. I thought you thought you'd be like, he's George or
There's a lot of them. There's a lot of Weasleys.
Yeah, there's a lot of
apparently.
Weasley. Anyway, yeah, he's great.
He is great, and like that's what I mean is I love the fact that they can use like seasoned actors. Like they're not just trying
They
to.
did a really good pivot where he kind of Force Awakens. He was basically like the Hitler Youth, and they pivoted him slightly into this slightly.
There was nothing slight about it at all. Like the movie opened with him just getting like bitched around on the phone, and he just like he doesn't know what to do. It's like
Look at this kind of sort of not incompetent, but just basically everything's kind of not going his way. But then, yeah, I really hope he has a really good sort of. I hope he goes out in the last film, but I hope he goes out.
Well, it's building up to that kind of thing because now there was always like conflict between him and Kylo, and now it's just like it's at a head because Kylo's in charge and Hux is so.
Is that something that you thought would happen in The Last Jedi, that like Snoke would be gone?
Nobody saw that coming.
It was
Like,
a genius move, wasn't it? Because
was
it basically just
fantastic.
completely, because everybody goes, well, it's just going to follow, because you got the Emperor kind of running things, and it just meant that you're kind of following the tropes of the OT, the original trilogy. And then they go, no, we're not going to kill it doesn't mean if you kill the Emperor that everything's solved. It's like, nah. Now you've literally just let Darth Vader take over. Like, what I mean? Quite interesting.
I think that's why I think in episode 9 is
Jess
probably...
has just checked her phone. Can we get a Weasley update?
Yeah, it's a Bill Weasley.
Bill Weasley. Bill Weasley. Thank you for that.
That's the episode. The title's going to be called The Weasley Update with Jess and Eli.
That's why I seriously, I think episode 9 is the Star Wars that I've probably been most excited for in my entire life. Probably because of the setups that nobody were expecting. Because you're talking about how... Last Year itself talked a lot about letting the past die and things are always going to move on. I feel like that's a metaphor that they're trying to put forward for Star Wars itself, is that they want Star Wars to be able to change and move forward and people to sort of let go of the things they used to. So, like you're saying, they were expecting the same sort of tropes to play out, as like the Emperor's there and the same kind of climax and whatnot, and then they just completely changed it. And so you've got episode 9 coming and nobody knows what's going to happen. Literally anything can happen.
Do you think JJ will take it and run with it, or do you think he'll play it safe?
I think he's definitely going to run with it. This is the best opportunity they have to run with it. And I feel like, especially now that Solo has not performed so well, that's more of an excuse to run with it because...
Well, Solo played it safe.
Exactly. That's the idea, is they want to keep playing it safe and pandering with the same storylines and the same characters and stuff like that. And I think it's gotten to the point where they've run out of steam with that. So the only choice they have is to try something radical and new, and fingers crossed.
Well, that's why I was sort of wondering about talking about the end of the Skywalkers. Is like, do you definitively, well, nothing's definitive in Star Wars, but do you tie a bow on 1 to 9, like that? Do you see prequel characters turning up in 9? Do we see Anakin Skywalker Force Ghost episode 9?
I feel like the nature of Star Wars...
Jess, what do you think? Let's pass it to
Hayden
you.
Christensen rock up in his robe at the end of that. So I think that...
He's not a bad actor, Hayden Christensen.
No.
If given
Have we seen the same movies?
Yeah, but I've seen him in other things. He's all right. He just needs, that's what I'm saying. If you put him in, JJ directs him in a good script, he could actually do something quite interesting, I think.
Yeah, look, I think that moving on from this trilogy, well, first, I definitely agree with Eli, like in saying that, Last Jedi I was very, very excited about it purely because of the same reasons. So after The Force Awakens, and I come out of it and everyone said the same thing as well, it's like, oh, it's just A New Hope rewritten. And, what's episode, 9 going to be, or episode 8, sorry, what's episode 8 going to be? Is it going to be, we're just going to watch the same trilogy?
Are we just going to see Empire again?
Yeah, is it going to happen again? And I think a lot of people walked into Last Jedi expecting that.
Yeah,
and then
it
wasn't like that.
And I think that's where a lot of people who get upset about it because they've gone, well, first one's followed that path. Second one takes place immediately after.
Yeah.
So in my brain, there's only certain way things have to go. So I've already figured it out. And then I sit there and it's like, you don't know anything actually. We've completely turned
exactly
this on
right.
your head.
We've all seen Shutter Island, right? No one's going to pick that. So it's what gets you going back to it's what keeps you within the franchise. Like, it definitely keeps me within it. I definitely would be able to tie a bow off on the 2 trilogies, or 3 trilogies, sorry, and then be like, that's one section of Star Wars, yes, and I'm ready for the next one.
Are you happy for it to be episode 10, but just be, we pick up 50 years in the future and this is episode 10 and things just move on? Like, are you kind of like, well, we don't even have to call them episodes anymore. We can just do Star Wars: The New Adventures? Or... Yeah,
definitely. I'm still all for the franchise in itself. Even though I haven't seen Solo yet, and I definitely will. Like, it's just, again, like, my hype isn't, I guess, what it used to be for it. But I'm still going to watch them all. I'm still going to get involved in the world in itself. It's kind of like another way of, a lot of people are huge fans of the Game of Thrones books, but then they won't watch the series because they do it different. And it's like, I would never see them like that. I would never see it like that. I would always see it for what it is.
Just find the bits that work for you.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much now. And that makes them, and there's like the cartoons, and there's the books, and there's the movies, and there's the animations, and there's the comics, and there's the, unless you're an absolute completist, it's pretty much, there's just no time to basically take it all in. So you've got to kind of pick and choose the things that you engage with, I think. And if they kind of figure out what their acceptable level of success is for the thing that they put out, like they've gone obviously Solo, all right, we were thinking more money. But if we go, all right, if these spin-off movies are going to take risks and they're only going to, we're going to get our money back plus some, and that's money in the bank and that's good, we can work with that. But they don't all have to be billion-dollar things every time. If we're producing more interesting things and breathing life into it more and more.
Yeah, and it's definitely the characters that always are going to make the franchise and make it work. And so, talking to Eli this morning at breakfast, about...
In preparation for this, knowing that this was happening.
Yeah.
I had no idea this was happening.
I did.
So I was talking about Solo, and I was asking what it is that he, what happens in it. I want to know. I want to know the synopsis. I want to know what the actors are like. I wanted to know what Han was like, being one of the unknowns. And, Eli saying he was really, really good. And but then also, like, Woody Harrelson and Paul Bettany. Like, and these are the big names.
Oh, they were so good.
Yeah, but these are the big names. And again, they're like, they're bringing in these characters. They're making these characters out of these people. Now Lando, having Donald Glover, Childish Gambino as Lando is amazing. Like,
you
they
guys
can make
community fans as well.
Yes, huge community fans, huge Donald Glover fans. They're huge Childish Gambino fans. Like, the fact that they could literally now make a whole franchise just out of Lando and just out of him being Lando.
I think they could. It's possible. Like,
oh yeah. The problem is now because it's like if it done gangbusters, the conversations would be like, how far can we take this? Like, what else can we do? Like, we can do Landos, we can do this, we can go in this direction, we can go in this. Now it's kind of like, oh, it didn't do as well as we wanted. I mean, had issues and they had to reshoot a bunch of it. So in order to make money, you've got to make more because they've had to basically shoot the movie twice. So it's disappointing because, had it done really well, it would just be the sky's the limit. Like, everybody would be going, give us 3 Landos. And people are probably still saying that, but, like, you don't have to quite have the steam, behind it. But I hope that they still do. They do, because they're sort of talking Boba Fett movie now.
So, that Eli was talking to me about that this morning as well. Like, and the fact that, so franchise being made off these characters and that you can reuse these characters, you can also create brand new ones within the same world that, that, like, as you mentioned, like, let's go 1,000 years in the future and just create a whole new family.
But with Solo, you could establish a timeline and say, well, the next movie is Boba Fett. And he picks up in that timeline where Solo is, and, Solo might cross, you get Alden Ehrenreich in a cameo, and that's how you do it. I mean, like, you shut off your own little timeline, because then you can put your Jabbas and Landos.
But then we're kind of repeating it, though, again, right? Because this is like Han's kind of origin story, and then it's going to be Boba Fett's origin story. It's going to be his
we already
first
know his origin.
hunt,
We know where his Yeah, we know Boba Fett's a bit of a funny one. I don't know. Can he carry a movie on his own?
I think there's enough that we don't know about him that I think it's more possible than with Han. Like I feel like we knew too much about Han for this kind of thing to work, but with Boba, there's so much more of we know where he comes from, we know where he ends up, but there's just nothing in between at all, at all.
It's gonna be an awesome crew of bounty hunters just rocking it, through the galaxy.
Even like a Dirty Dozen kind of.
Yeah, that's what I kind of pictured it as. I kind of thought that it was just going to be, I know it was actually.
Well, I thought Solo might be a bit like a Ocean's 11 kind of. I mean, they do. There is a plan and a heist, but it's not that sophisticated, really. It's sort of smash and grab more than.
They spent the movie was about Han. It wasn't about the heist, and that's probably that's probably where it failed more than anything.
But you kind of feel like if they did another one, it would just be the job, and I won't spoil the particulars, but you kind of feel like the next job or or having Lando sort of come back into it, and where they end up at the end of that movie and things. But if you had a Boba Fett movie, would you want him to have his mask on the whole time?
I think that'd work. I think that would work so well. I think that'd be really good.
A bit weird. I suppose Deadpool kind of works.
It does.
But they still has his mask off. And I mean, Spider-Man takes his mask off every opportunity. I mean, you haven't seen Infinity War, but they've all got these nanotechnology suits so their masks can disappear anytime that they want. They don't have to take their helmets off all the time. So, Downey Jr. can get some face time.
It's really streamlined. But I feel like Boba's a different character in himself. How many lines did he have in the original trilogy?
4.
Exactly. And the fan base that he generated with 4 lines. So he's a unique character that I think they can try something different with him. They can give him a helmet for the whole thing because that is his character. You don't really need them.
But is it better, like I say, Jess, you said ensemble might be a way that you weigh that, then he doesn't have to basically be talking the whole time. He's kind of just one of many.
Yeah,
but if
one
it's still
of many,
the Boba Fett movie, I don't know. I kind of think the idea that maybe you have a switch, so the movie's about someone being hunted by Boba Fett, and he's kind of like the shark in Jaws. He kind of intermittently comes in and out of the film. But
no, I kind of think that it would be
asking me.
Him as a part of a clan, and he kind of breaks himself out of that, goes on his own way at some point. I think that it is going to be a story about him and his character. Although, and that's why I don't think that he's going to have his mask on the whole time. It'll be, it'll be what he's like without his armor.
Would there be a love interest in a Boba Fett movie?
I would really hope.
Oh, look at the face! If only I could take a photo of your face right now.
He has no time for that. He's got a lot of bounties to hunt.
But he's
a busy man.
In the special edition of Jedi, he's chatting up those dancing.
Oh yeah, we all know that. Yeah, all right. He's
a front.
He's got urges, but he's a professional, Is
that the Boba Fett? He's got urges. A Star Wars story. There's the episode title. Boba Fett. He's got urges. A Star Wars story.
I'd pre-book my ticket for that.
So you say no love interest.
No love it. I think. You're right. I think ensemble works. I think ensemble works. Him as part of a sort of.
What if you had a love interest in the ensemble?
Yeah.
It's complicating things too much. I don't know if I would sit down and watch that for children.
I think it's tricky, and this is why actually I probably think a helmet for the entire movie would be good, is because Boba Fett isn't really a character you want to humanize. You just want him to be almost impossibly.
But hasn't that already happened in the prequels though?
Yeah, but they have They can still
you think they could retcon and say actually someone else took over. It's not actually the same guy, or
I think we saw him as a child basically, and he can be reconstituted.
Can they get Tamara Morrison again, or is he too old?
I don't know. Let me
Google see what he looks
Google
like.
That.
Taika Waititi.
Oh shit! I'd watch
that. They could get the fat kid from Hunt for the Wilder People who was in Deadpool 2.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that'd be sick.
I'd say Boba Fett's just a little fat, angry New Zealand kid. Because you got to get a Maori actor still.
It's on his road to becoming the bounty hunter, and he's got montages, every 25 minutes in the movie.
You can suck my dicks, boss.
He just 1 week out of the gyms on Camino, and he just loses all of it.
He just comes in. They start off with him, and then he comes out looking like Tamara Morrison. He's aged 40 years.
Oh Jesus.
All right, well, guys, you've done such a great job. We're going to keep these short because it's cold. We're outside. You guys don't really do the social medias. You just you're on the Facebooks. You're not on Twitter or anything, are you?
No, I'm not.
Don't engage. You're missing out on all the fun.
Essentially off the grid for the most part.
Yeah, that's true. No, I got Facebook.
Yeah, but you don't want some randoms tapping you on Facebook. Not
No.
that we've got hundreds of fans, but
No,
you never know.
No.
But what we'll do is maybe when you see Solo, we'll get you around. We'll do a deconstruct. We'll get some thoughts.
Yeah, happy to do
We've
it.
got 18 months before the next Star Wars movie now.
I've still got heaps of time. It's all
we've
right.
got heaps of time to roll up.
Yeah.
Might
Speculate.
maybe
Every
we'll do because
possibility.
I'm kind of thinking about doing some commentary track stuff, and I'm getting Kat's brother to do Solo. Might do a prequel with you guys. Maybe we'll do Revenge of the Sith.
I am down for that.
Totally down for that. I still to this day, love episode 3. Think that it was great. Not like it is good. Opening sequence, still one of my favorites.
Oh my god, so good.
There you go. There's some
So
sizzle
good.
for you. All right, thanks guys. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Yeah.